Audio drum loop. Let's create a drum loop from the rock session on the DVD. The drums were recorded to a click track, but aren't always spot on the click, as you'll see. First, create a duplicate playlist so that you're not editing the original playlist. I recommend doing this every time you start editing a track and at some intervals while editing. Then, highlight a section of music on the drum track to loop, like this 2-measure phrase. Activate loop playback, found in the options menu, to roughly hear how it sounds as a loop. Once you've decided on a rough loop length, separate it using the separate region command. For this, I like to use the key command Control-E in Windows or Command-E on a Mac. Next, zoom in close to the region's start boundary and switch to the Trim tool. Use the Trim tool to adjust the start boundary so that it's right before a large transient on the downbeat, in this case, right on beat 1 of the loop. Put this region separation as close to a transient in the waveform as possible without chopping off any of the transient's attack. I'm in slip mode here, but you can use grid mode if the beat is locked to the grid. Now, edit the loop's endpoint with the Trim tool so that it falls right before a large transient, preferably at a 0 amplitude crossing point. Highlight the loop and use loop playback to make sure the loop is smooth and doesn't lose the beat when it repeats during playback. To be really efficient, activate Dynamic Transport from the Options menu. Then drag the Play Start marker to a location near the end of the loop to check the loop transition, like this. Because I've used slip mode to edit this loop and it's not exactly aligned to the tempo grid, I'm now going to switch to grid mode and move the beginning of the loop to the beginning of a measure on the grid. Then I'll make a duplicate playlist, switch to the TCE Trim tool, and drag the end of the loop to compress or expand the region so that it fits exactly to the grid. Highlight the new loop and create multiple loops of the region by selecting Loop from the Region menu. In the Region Looping window, you can choose to repeat the loop a certain number of times, loop for a certain amount of time, or loop it until the end of the session.